Hello everybody, today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions of The War Within, so let's go ahead and hop on into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the story. I'm going to do my best to make sure I don't spoil anything, but the story actually is pretty good. I actually wanted to watch the cutscenes. I kind of found myself in Shadowlands and Dragonflight just skipping the cutscenes. Now, I really couldn't tell you why though. And that's the thing about it. But in this, I just don't ever skip them. Like, I always watch them. I always feel interested. I don't know. Something about the story actually is more interesting. I don't see them doing any weird character trope that kind of makes me roll my eyes, right? Like, there is a point where, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a point where Illyria actually has the opportunity to do that, but then she actually doesn't do it. And I'm like, oh, wow, the characters aren't doing dumb things that make you go, why did they do this when they could have just done this, right? Like, everything that's happening feels much more natural and in flow, right? They also brought back some really fun characters from the past that I like, and they also have shown character development in some of the characters, right? Because some of these characters, like back in Battle for Azeroth, are very like one-dimensional, right? And I'm gonna try not to name any names, right? I might hint at them, but yeah, but so they're very one-dimensional, and they have like this one directive, and it's very boring almost. But in this expansion, they actually go through character growth. They actually start to evaluate why they're even doing what they're doing, and it makes the story just so much more interesting. Like, I can't even begin to describe, like how happy I am with the story. The story is very, very fun. The next feature I want to talk about is delves. This is something that I have been having a lot of fun with. So normally in an MMO, one of the biggest issues you face as a DPS is you're not able to use the like random dungeon finder tool as effectively as a healer or a tank will. You'll have to wait 15 minutes, 30 minutes just to get into a dungeon. Whereas if you're a healer, you don't really have to wait that time. So with delves, what you have here are essentially just little short one-man dungeons that at the very end you have loot, and not only that, the loot is not bad, it's actually pretty good. So if you're trying to get that initial gearing up of getting to heroic level so you can do heroic dungeons or getting into mythic zeros, you're actually able to do it somewhat effectively just through delves. You're right, currently in the early access, you actually can get the exact same item level of gear you can get from normal dungeons out of the tier 3 delves. And the thing is these go up higher and higher. And not only that, if you get a bountiful key from these special assignments, you can actually get item level gear even currently now all the way up to eye level 571. So it's really just a pretty awesome way to gear. I've really enjoyed doing them, and they're also just really fun in general. You get to run around with Brand Bronzebeard, upgrade his abilities to do, and for him, make him do special effects. He's kind of like your little dungeon companion for this. You can make him a healer, a tank, a DPS. It's honestly just super cool, and I really, really enjoy the delves, and there is a bunch of them all over the new zones. So the next feature they have here is called Hero Talents. Now, these actually are pretty cool. I'm going to show you guys the ones for Feral Druid, just because that's the class I am playing, but so you have Ravage here. What it does is it replaces our Ferocious Bite with like a really big damage ability, and it's actually pretty satisfying. Like, seeing some big crit when you're like level 75 for like 1,000,000 damage just feels good. So I'm actually having a lot of fun playing Druid of the Claw. I haven't tried out Wildstalker yet. I will say these are a little bit more boring. Like some of these, like the main ones are not boring, like Ravage and then the Capstone. Those ones are pretty cool because they have very noticeable effects. But I mean, the rest of these are just like, they're just damage buffs. Like, oh, your Shred and Brutal Slash deal 6% increased damage. Cool. But then Druid of the Claw does have one that's pretty interesting here, Wild Shape Mastery. So when you transform from bear to cat form, you retain the armor bonus and health bonus for 6 seconds, and for 6 seconds after entering bear form, you heal for 10% of the damage taken over 8 seconds. So this one has a really cool defensive mechanic. Overall, I think Druid of the Claw is pretty cool. I haven't tried out Wildstalker, but I'm kind of expecting that even if this one was to do more damage, that Druid of the Claw is going to be used a lot more just because it has the craziest defensive capabilities for raids and stuff like that. But yeah, so overall, you just have things like 10%, damage, stuff like that, but it's mainly the first one and the last one that are going to be the most interesting. The rest of these are just kind of minor buffs, but they're pretty cool. Unfortunately, some of these have been kind of duds for other classes, like Beast Mastery. Hunter is unfortunately not in a great spot. I don't think balanced druids really like the hero talents all that much. So some classes obviously are doing, in specs, are doing better than others with their hero talents. But overall, I think these are pretty fun and pretty cool to play around with. And I feel most classes can use both of them. But typically there is one that is clearly better than the other. But that's going to be the hero talents. And on top of that, they also reworked a lot of stuff. So they've reworked like a lot of the druid stuff. So be on the lookout for your class to see all the stuff they changed. I know they made some pretty big changes to druid. For example, you know, like the Tiger's Fury change here. Like we used to get this reset whenever you kill something. That's no longer the case anymore, which kind of sucks. But hey, you know, what can you do? It's turned the playstyle into a much, much slower paced playstyle. But overall, I'm still having a lot of fun with the talents and the new hero talents. So now going into the last section is going to be dungeons. So the dungeons so far have been pretty cool. They've been rather short and concise on the earlier ones, and then the level 80 ones have been a little bit longer. I'm enjoying them a lot, actually. I can definitely tell that whenever Mythics comes out, there are going to be some mobs that you're not going to be able to ignore. You're definitely going to have to think about. There's not going to be a whole lot of just face rolling these dungeons. There's a lot of little mechanics on the trash. I have seen a couple groups now just wipe to just regular trash mobs, trying to group up too many things where they have a special effect and all of a sudden they start AoEing everybody, and it catches them off guard and then they die, right? So just stuff like that. I'm really enjoying it. Now, and keep in mind that Mythic 0 is going to be much, much more difficult. So they changed the way scaling is going to work. So before, you know, you had your normal, your heroic, your Mythic 0, right? Now, what old Mythic 0 is going to be what heroics are now. So they're actually upping the ante and the difficulty jumps. And then a Mythic 0 is going to be more so like around the difficulty of a Mythic 10. So be ready for that. It's not like, dude, Mythics are going to be some serious business this time. You're probably not going to be able to clear as far into the keys as like in previous expansions where things are a little bit different, where, you know, M0 to M10 was honestly pretty easy. It's definitely going to be much more, it's going to definitely give you much more of a wallop if you're not careful. But overall, the dungeons have been pretty cool. The bosses have been pretty cool. I've been enjoying it. The rewards have been pretty great. So yeah, definitely some very fun dungeons. I encourage you to do all of them for sure. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. This has been my first impressions of The War Within. So far, I am greatly enjoying it. It has been a ton of fun. Really fast leveling experience, too. So you're going to zip right on up to 80. So I've really been enjoying it. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.